Shak Hill is joining us now. Now, let me tell you about Shak Hill. Shak Hill ran for U.S. Senate 2014, Virginia Republican in a convention against Ed Gillespie. Almost pulled the upset off. Put the fear of God in Steady Eddie back then when Gillespie spent $600,000 and Shak Hill spent $19,000 and got 42% of the vote in that convention in Roanoke, I believe, if memory serves me correct. Now he's running against Barbara Comstock. He wants to be the Republican nominee in the 10th District. Barbara, the lone Republican now in Northern Virginia, and she's hanging by a thread. Ralph Northam carried Barbara's 10th District, Comstock's district, 60% to 40%. So that is the number one targeted seat probably for the Democrats now in America. Shak Hill wants to knock her off in a primary in June of 2018, and he's aggressively running against her. Shak, good to have you with us.
Hey, good to be with you, John. I was listening to you this morning on 570 AM, The Answer, and I'm glad to have you up here in Northern Virginia.
How did it sound?
It sounded fantastic. I love your guest there, and I love the sports analogy. And we have to be honest with ourselves as Republicans, just like you said. If we don't look and examine what's going on, look at the numbers, and be truthful, then we're going to end up losing again and again and again.
That's
and
right.
I have to say, I'm tired of losing. I'm tired of holding my nose and voting, and that's why I'm running.
I appreciate that. But my first question is, Barbara Comstock gets a lot of Democrat votes. She gets a lot of independent votes. The district, the 10th district, the Republicans got clobbered. They lost everything in sight. The only House member that still survived in any of Northern Virginia is Tim Hugo. Everybody else wiped out. And the House of Delegates, Northam carrying it by 20 points. I mean, is the district even winnable?
Not only is it winnable, it's very conservative. So let's break down a couple of things. First and foremost, 2016, Donald Trump had more votes in the 10th Congressional District than 2017, Ralph Northam. So the district came out and voted for Donald Trump more than it came out and voted for Ralph Northam. Additionally, in the 10th Congressional District, when Ken Cuccinelli was running for governor and not supported by Republicans, he lost the state but won the 10th. Mitt Romney lost the state but won the 10th. George Allen lost the state by 5 percentage points, and he tied the 10th. So the 10th Congressional District is a conservative district. Barbara knows that. She's running as a conservative. But don't forget, too, Dave LaRocque, who is a solid conservative up in the Purcellville area, he won 60-40. Don't forget, also, our delegate from Winchester won. So did Tim Hugo, who is my delegate, and I was pleased to cast the vote for him. But the important thing to remember is that if Barbara Comstock is our nominee, she will lose the district. If I'm the nominee, we will win the district, and quite simply for one reason only. I will bring out the base. The base will vote for a conservative, and we will win and keep the seat.
So why did Gillespie lose the district by 20 points?
Gillespie lost because he only brought out about 55% of the Trump voters. If Ed Gillespie had brought out 87% of the Trump voters that came out last year, then he would have not only have won the district, he would have won the state. And I said this before in 2014, and I'll say it again. The people of Virginia do not want an inside-the-beltway lobbyist. We've never wanted that, John. So if you have somebody who is wishy-washy, if you've got somebody who's trying to play both sides of the fence, they're going to lose in Northern Virginia. And this is an interesting point about Barbara. Barbara is going to get 0 Democrat or independent votes in the primary. Well, why is this? Because the Democrats themselves are going to have a contested primary. And if they're going to have a contested primary on the exact same day, when you walk into your voting booth, one man, one ballot, you will have to decide if you're voting in the Republican primary or the Democrat primary. And the Democrats will vote in their own primary to determine their own nominee. They're not going to vote for Barbara.
Right.
So Ed lost because Ed never took a hard stand on the issues that are important to America. And most importantly, John, Ed did not embrace the policies of President Trump. And when he didn't embrace the policies of President Trump, he didn't embrace America. And that's why he lost.
All right, so let me ask you this, Shak Hill. So Ed Gillespie made a gamble, right? And he gambled. And his gamble was, if he threaded the needle with Trump and he didn't really embrace him and he just ran ads that would appeal to his base, but he didn't go to rallies, he didn't retweet his stuff, he didn't go meet him, he didn't be seen with him. You know, he played the whole footsie thing. Mike Pence would come and he'd run up to the stage, and Trump would come and he'd run out of town. I mean, I've been through it all right? Because I used to basically MC the majority of these rallies. So his gamble was, I'll thread the needle, I'll disassociate from Trump, I'll still get the Trump voters out, and Fairfax Democrats will not hate me. Here's what happened, right? That was the gamble. It's not a bad game plan, right? And as I said, you know, sometimes you draw up a game plan, but here's the result of that game plan, right? Trump voters didn't turn out for him like he thought they would. He only got 55%. And Fairfax still hated his guts even more. So the Fairfax failed, the Trump failed, and he got beat, and everybody else got crushed. That's what happened here, right? So he threaded the needle. It didn't work. Bad strategy. In hindsight, you know, not a bad plan going in, but it didn't work. Why would anybody want to repeat a failed plan like that? It didn't work.
Well, that's a great question, and Barbara Comstock is certainly trying to repeat this failed plan. She herself is not embracing the president's policies. She is also somebody who is a rabid never-Trumper. And I have to tell you, I don't think it's a needle in a haystack anymore. I think that the president and his policies are the best thing that America has seen in an absolute long time. We need to embrace what President Trump is doing. My candidacy is doing that. But here's something important, too, for your listeners. Only 1/3 of Fairfax County is inside the 10th Congressional District. And it's that particular 1/3 that is conservative. It is specifically carved out so that the Democrats' parts of Fairfax are in the 11th Congressional District, Jerry Conley, and that the Republican part of the Fairfax County is in the 10th Congressional District.
Right.
So, for example, all of Reston, all of Herndon is carved out of the 10th. And inside of the 10th, we have Clifton and Fairfax Station and that part of McLean that is conservative, that part of Great Falls that's conservative. So this is a conservative district. Barbara runs as a conservative, and I'll actually implement those conservative policies because she votes like a liberal.
All right, with Shak Hill, Republican, running against Barbara Comstock for the Republican nomination for Congress, 10th District, Northern Virginia. Barbara's the incumbent 2 terms. Shak, let's get to some of the allegations you've made. You refer to Barbara as Beltway Barbara, and you've said on these congressional staffers and members sexual misconduct allegations, you said she's got, what is she hiding, you keep saying. Can you elaborate here? What's your beef?
The House has the compliance office, which cuts the checks to settle these harassment lawsuits. There's a committee called the Committee on House Administration. I really need you to write that down. The Committee on House Administration that has direct oversight of the compliance office. There are only 6 Republicans and 3 Democrats that sit on this committee. That committee, the Committee on House Administration, is the committee that approves the harassment payouts, of which many and most are sexual harassment. Barbara Comstock sits on that committee. Now, I don't believe, and I think your listeners would never believe, that all congressmen will know all particular interests of all committees. It's just impossible. If you're on the House Foreign Relations Committee, you don't know what other committees are doing necessarily. But Barbara sits on this committee, John. She's one of the 6 Republicans that has access to the secret meetings. She has access to the payouts, to the slush fund and the hush money. She has direct oversight of the compliance office that cuts the checks. So she's either lying to us that she doesn't know the names, or she's lying to us that she's doing her job of oversight. And in the Air Force, when I was a combat pilot, we would call that gross negligence. So which one is it, Barbara? Are you lying that you don't know the names, or are you lying that you're not performing your due diligence that you were elected to perform? John, she knows the names. She could release those names or certainly call for it. She's on that particular committee.
Isn't she bound by whatever legal confidentiality agreements when they accepted the money that the alleged victim signed? I mean, is she not bound by that?
There is a non-disclosure agreement that committee forces the victims to sign. She has every power and authority to move a motion this morning that will allow those names to be unraveled and undisclosed because she sits on the committee. I mean, we cannot ignore the fact that this is an important part of this. The last thing I'll say is this. I don't want to violate the victims. I want to identify the predators. When Barbara Comstock does not identify the predators, she's enabling the predators. So we certainly could eliminate this forced non-disclosure agreement. By the way, a policy set by her committee that she sits on, one of only 6 Republicans. She has the authority to change that, or at least propose the change, and then let the votes go as they are. But she's not even planning on doing that, John.
Well, you said there's 9. You said there's 9 members who sit on the committee?
Yes, sir.
6 Republicans and 3 Democrats.
Correct.
So Barbara's one of 9. So what about the other 8? Why aren't you criticizing the other 8 as well? Why single out Barbara?
Barbara has come out vocally in favor of unmasking the names. She has come out as a victim advocate. She even told a story about a staffer that was told to go over to a congressman's office with some important papers, to a congressman's home. When that congressman met the staffer at the home, he was in a towel. She has accused that congressman of possibly committing a crime. Has she called the Capitol Police on this? No. Has she called 911 to report a crime? No. What Barbara particularly is doing is she's trying to become the face of the movement to get all of these names released. But she is the actual movement. She is on the committee, John. So this is complete hypocrisy on Barbara's part. She is not helping the victim. She is enabling the predator. And here's what's worse. I believe that Barbara Comstock was specifically put on this committee by the leadership of the swamp because they know that she will not call for the release of these names.
Well, that's
a
just
strong indictment, and I will stand behind that
Shak,
indictment because she has said at the committee that she wants the names released, and yet she won't even move a motion in the committee to release the names.
All right, well, Shak, to say that she got put on there because she keep a secret for the potential predators, I mean, that's wild conjecture. Come on, let's be honest.
That's wild conjecture. I will agree to that, but I will tell you this, that if a conservative knew that hush money was being paid out and predators were being protected. Now I'll say that again. If a conservative knew that hush money was being paid out and predators were being protected, that conservative would have blown a whistle. And don't forget one last thing, John. In our great Constitution that governs our country, it says specifically that all taxpayer dollars have to be accounted for. Barbara, you're on the committee. Account for the taxpayer dollars that your committee has paid out. Why the secrecy?
So
I will admit if I'm wrong, but I don't think I am, John.
So what you're saying is that as a committee member on the Committee on House Administration that approved these expenditures with a House slush fund, you're saying that she has the means, she has the ability right now to call for the identification of those that money was paid out on their behalf. She has that authority. Is that what
she could sit? That is exactly right. She could sit at the next committee meeting, which was held about 10 days ago. She could have done it 10 days ago and did not. She's been on this committee ever since she's been a member of Congress, John. So she has the ability, as a member of this committee, to move a motion and demand that these names be released of the predators. I'm not necessarily requesting or suggesting we should release the names of the victims, but we should absolutely release the names of the predators. And by the way, when we don't release the name of the predators and they go back to their districts, she is actually, in a way, protecting those predators and not allowing them to have full disclosure, and that their districts are actually voting for people who are predators.
All right, Shak, I'm going to get I'm out of time for this segment. We're going to try to get to the bottom of this, see if indeed Miss Comstock or why the other people haven't done the same thing. Even the three Democrats, somebody it seems should do this. I'm going to get to the bottom of it. I'm out of time right now. I want to thank Shak Hill for being with us. More information, go to shakhill.com. Shakhill.com.
Thank you, John.
You're on the John Fredericks Radio Network. Keep it right here.